Okay. Are you comfortable and at ease internally in all of your conversations? Do you ever walk away shaken or?
Yes. I frequently hang up the phone and do some kind of energy release or cry or whatever.
So
I'm comfortable and at ease sometimes. Sometimes I actually am, but nowhere near all the time.
Well, I think like a lot of men that have great expertise, you always make it look easy whenever you speak of it or when I'm present.
Anything that you get good at looks easy. I mean, in fact, anything is easy once you're not doing all the stuff that doesn't work. But it's like any other skill. You have to be willing to just do it. You know, the dating gurus will tell you to go approach 100 women in public and ask them for the time or directions. You know, you go to a mall and ask them where the shoe store is or whatever. You got to do that. And, you know, some of them are going to be rude or offended or scared or something like that. But for the most part, people are very polite and welcoming and friendly. And you need to find that out so that your inner child isn't scared to do it anymore. So when you're completely not scared to go up to a stranger and ask them where's the shoe store, then you can go to the next step and, you know.
So you've already answered this too, but I want to talk about it. So if you were to have 20 conversations with men about the men's weekend, maybe with 20 different men or 10 conversations each with each of 2 men, what would your expectations be? You said 10%?
Yeah.
Okay, but it could be either way. You could talk in
the
equivalent of 20 men and get 2 men to do it, or you might wind up talking to 10 men twice, or.
Well, no. If I'm talking to them twice, then I know and they know that they're considering doing it. If they're not doing it, they've been sorted out. So within
when I say twice, I mean you could be following up with a man at his request in 2 months.
Right. So now maybe it's 20% or 30%, or, you know, something.
Oh, okay.
Because he already said yes.
So your 10%.
I'm not just beating on him again.
Your 10% then is for men that you start conversations with. You find about 1 in 10 wind up.
Yeah, I mean that's a guess, but.
Yes, I understand. Okay. Well, it's a lot of conversations. Do you ever? I mean, I know that you know sometimes, as you say, when I talk to 3 men and get no's, I start to get a little discouraged, and I have to generate myself around that.
I do too. Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you read?
What I like to do to sort of manage my feeling about it, there's actually a couple of things that I do. One thing is that if something good happens, I stop. So, you know, if I'm making a series of phone calls and somebody says yes to being a guest for an event, I'm done. You know, I go play a video game or do something fun because I want my internal programming to think that this is fun. So if something good happens, I stop. I persist when it's not working. So that's one thing. Another thing is this business of finding out right away if the person's open to this or not. The effect of that is that I'm essentially spending 100% of my time talking to people who are interested. Therefore it's fun. Therefore over time, you know, I'm more... By letting go of the no's right away, you save yourself a great deal of stress and them too.
So if you're at some gathering and you ask a man, have you done the Sterling in a conversation that whoever comes about and he says no and he doesn't seem interested, or you say, or maybe you pursue it a little bit and say, would you like to hear about it? And he says, no, I really don't think so. That's it.
That's it.
Maybe you'll complete the conversation with him if what you're out at that event to do is to talk to lots of men and just go find another man.
Yeah, we want to deal with people with 100% respect, assuming that he's an expert on his life.
That's great. So, we talked about this earlier. Could you give us an example or a couple examples of how conversations go that do wind their way forward to a man coming to a meeting or registering?
I don't really know how to do that. It's
okay.
Like I can dance, but I can't dance it. I can't talk about it. Let's see. I don't know. Let's create some kind of a real example or something somehow.
Okay. So we'll try it. If you were speaking with me and perhaps I was talking, I don't know even how you create the openings, although I'm sure you do.
Well, tell me again what we're trying to accomplish here. What's the question?
Well, I'd like to hear what, how you are able to manifest the respect and guide the conversation according to what a man might say towards a resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So, if a man were in some conversation with you about how he was getting a divorce or something like that, I don't know, maybe that would be an opening for you to say, have you done
the Sterling
Men's Weekend? And he might say, well, what's that? And you would answer perhaps the way you did earlier. Or maybe you'd shifted a little bit towards a relationship.
It's a weekend for men. Is that something you're open to, that you'd consider doing?
Yeah, it might be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next one is in May.
In May?
See, the goal of enrollment is to get them to take the initiative.
I see.
So if you're talking a lot, that ain't it.
What just happened there was the next one's in May. You left me with nothing to do but ask you a question, which is, well, I don't understand.
And it's not a trick. It's really coming from It's not a trick. It's the next one's in May. I want to see what you're going to say.
It isn't a trick. I can see it's turning it into a conversation instead of a pursuit.
Right.
The other man has to show some interest, or else you are just in an untenable position.
Yeah. What would you need to know? What would you want to know? I mean, I can tell you a lot about it, and I won't do that. I'll spare you that. But, I can... So there's this weekend for men, and I think it really might help with your divorce a lot. Exactly how, I don't know, but certainly it's made a huge difference in thousands of people's marriages. So what would help you to make the decision? And people say things like, I don't think the baseball season is over yet. I have 3 boys, and or whatever. Or how much is it? Or, so again...
So let's take it that, well, I have 3 boys, and I'm, with the divorce going on, we're driving them to baseball and soccer and so on. So I can't see doing it right now.
Okay. And are you sure about that? Like, if it were going to make a huge difference, would you consider working around it, or would you definitely want to wait till the fall?
Well, are you telling me it's going to rescue my marriage in some way?
It might, yeah. And, it might make a big difference in how your marriage feels, or in how you're parenting afterwards, or... Yeah, it's going to make a huge difference. And, it might or might not be... is that what you want to explore? Do you want to explore the value, or do you have some other question?
Well, since you were asking me about whether to consider doing it sooner, even though it would mean kind of messing up one of my weekends, and kind of hard to believe it would make a difference with myself and my wife, where things have come to.
Okay.
So,
yeah. If you want to explore that, there's lots of men you could talk to, and meetings you could come to, and
is it just for divorced men or men?
No, it's all men, and it's got to... The overall result of the weekend, I believe, is feeling better about yourself, which empowers you in everything you're involved in, career, whatever. We're just talking about this divorce because it's a situation for you right now. But, my question is, when you look in your heart, do you want to find out about it? Or do you want to find a way to avoid it and not do this weekend in May? Just honesty time. Because we're going to go with what you want.
Okay.
So do you know?
Well, I'm going to step out of character here because I've got what I wanted from this conversation. It's just marvelous how much you're basically in an inquiry.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
tremendous.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So that was a good example.
it was a great example.